Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered Naked Truth. This is Ramin, your host. I am with
Andy O'Brien, and we're super excited today to have this illustrious guest. He'll introduce more about him. He's laughing right now. But Rusty West, founder of Market Scan. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome, man.
Yeah. Illustrious, I'm not so sure about, but I'll take it for a minute.
I said that on purpose.
yeah.
So, we're here at the Unfiltered Naked Truth. Obviously, we've had some pre-conversations about it. So tell everybody about your company that you built, your journey that went along with it.
Yeah, so it's kind of I don't know how much time you got, but
Just a minute. We have time.
Yeah, so we got a hard stop in 90 seconds. So it was pretty much the only job I've ever had, and I'm almost 60 years old.
Wow.
When I went to college, I got technology degrees, math, computer science, and physics. It wouldn't have hurt me to take a business class. I had to learn that shit the hard way. But when I graduated, I wrote a software package for my dad's business. And he was one of the earliest pioneers of auto leasing. He wrote Ford's retail lease plan, which is that red carpet lease formula they use today. He did that in the late 50s, early 60s, and been in and around leasing forever. So I wrote a software package for his company, and we realized we had something we could sell. So he went out and started selling it, and I was doing all the programming and the data and all that. So it was a big data piece, and had a marketing company in California. This was in Atlanta, that's where I grew up. And a marketing company in California said, "Hey, we could sell your product out here." And so flew to California to check it out, and 60 days later moved to California and kind of launched. And pawned the title to my car for $5,700 and slept on the guy's couch for 6 weeks before I could rent a place. Yeah,
That is amazing. And so you've been running this company. Did your dad stay with you during that time?
yeah. So he stayed in Atlanta when I first came out here, and here. I'm used to saying here. Thank you. I moved to America, guys. Texas, great place. I got the hell out of California.
Thank you.
Gavin
Thank
Newsom.
you.
I got 2 fingers for you, and you can pick which ones they are.
Yeah.
So I moved to California November 19th of 90, right, which was about 10 seconds before the first Gulf War hit. And so my dad stayed in Atlanta, and the marketing company had 2 people in it, right? Gulf War hits, everything kind of falls apart. One of the people embezzled all the money, didn't pay the rent. They got evicted from their office. I was sharing their office. I'm like, can I go get my computer? So literally kind of started completely from scratch. I was broke, right? My dad was broke because he had a partner in his leasing company that did the exact same thing to him that the guy in the market. So we're sitting there, what do we do? And you're like, well, you give up and go get a job, or do you dig in and go figure it out, right? So we dug in and went and got a little office space, bullshitted my way into a lease. I remember this young real estate agent, a guy named Tony Principe. He's one of my best friends now. I've known him for over 30 years. And so I find this 600 square foot office space. It's $900 a month, or it was 900 square feet for $600 a month. I don't remember. And the place hadn't been rented in 3 years. Got cobwebs and shit everywhere. And so I'm like, I'll take it. And they're like, okay, so we need personal guarantees and all this, that, and the other. And I look at the landlord, and I'm going to say, lady, I work for a gigantic company. They sent me out here to open up a satellite office. And if I ask for a personal guarantee, I'm going to get fired, right? So I need 3 months free up front, all this shit, no, it's stuff. She's like, okay, right? I said, I'll FedEx everything to the corporate headquarters in Atlanta, and they'll turn it around in 3 or 4 days. And she's like, okay. So I get the lease, right? And I'm sitting there, and I sit on it for 3 or 4 days, so it seems like it went to Atlanta and back, right? And then I signed it and brought it back, and then I was in business. And it was, yeah. So, and to this date, I've never personally guaranteed anything.
Really?
Yeah. Just was able to figure it out. But that's where we started, and then it just, from there it went. We were one of those 10-year overnight successes, and then when it really took off, it really took off. And then we've had a couple ups and downs, little ones, like an EKG, right? But yeah, it's been great journey.
That's amazing.
What made your company to take off? Because those days, aggregating data with the technology and the science, it wasn't like today. How did you guys come up with that idea that you're going to aggregate all these 3 things together and here you go, you have it?
So, so my dad had the first independent leasing company in the country. It's called Penny Leasing Systems. We started in 1974. And I've still got the penny that was in his lobby, right, behind the things, a 4-foot fiberglass penny. It's in our office in California. But so when I was in high school, he had Peach Auto Leasing. I think he had a bunch of different iterations, right? And the Radio Shack TRS-80 first came out. And so he had like 3 or 4 lenders. General Electric was really big at the time, GCal and a couple others. So he says, can you write me a program where I can put the stuff in, or we can put the information in for the different cars, and I can figure out which lender has the best program, because there was, nobody knew what anybody else was doing, so they were just all over the map. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I did, and I was, 15 or something, and it was not very clean code, as you can imagine, but it was functional. And so when I graduated, I was sitting down having a beer with my dad, and if you spend any time in the car business in the South, especially back then, everybody had a Black Book used car guide, right, which was this little super thin paper. Everybody had it in their shirt pocket, right? And you could flip to it. If you categorized your cars right, you knew what the thing was going to go through auction, and you were within probably $50. It was super close. So my dad says, hey, if we printed a book once a week, and we took every car just at sticker, and 24, 36, 48, and 60-month leases, and we printed the top 5 lenders' payments, you could flip through there and you could say, okay, if you're looking for a Honda Accord 4-door sedan LX automatic, it's going to cost you roughly $300 a month for this term. we could build a company that we could sell for $3 million, and we could take $1 million each and give $1 million to the government right off in the sunset, right? And this was in 1988. And I'm, just graduated college. I didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. And I'm like, shit, that sounds like a great idea. So I spend, 4 months writing a program and tools and stuff, aggregating all this data. And I start printing. You remember the green bar paper, right? The big bar paper. So I'm printing massive reports, and I go hand the report to my dad. I'm like, all right, where's my $1 million? And then he's like, well, what if I want to change a number? And I'm like, it's a fucking book, right? You want to change a number, wait till the data changes, I'll print you another book. He goes, well, I got my sales guys, they want to be able to desk deals. And I'm like, crap. So I spent 14 months putting a user interface on it. And then all of a sudden, he starts just clobbering every dealer in Atlanta. I mean, he's buying cars at window sticker and leasing them to their customers for $100, $200 a month cheaper, Mercedes and stuff, than they can lease them. And he's, hitting home runs on them. And so, we kind of took a long time to realize we were in the data business, but what really got us going was we solved a big problem that had never been solved before. And we continue to evolve, make the problem bigger, but create the solution for it before you expose the problem, kind of thing. And been doing that for 30 years.
This is what you always tell us.
Innovation.
Yeah. Listen, your compensation is directly proportionate to the level of difficulty of the problem you're capable of solving, right? If you discover a giant problem and you tell the world about it before you solve it, you're an idiot, right? So we've always had this discover, solve, expose thing, right? And there's problems in every segment of every corner of this earth with everything, right? Mm-hmm. Some of them are very visible. Some people don't even know they exist until you bring it to their attention. And when you bring it to their attention, all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I had no idea there was a better way. And so we've literally, my whole life has been focused on trying to figure out where are the other pain points. And I was in the automotive space, right? Where are the other pain points in the automotive space? What's happening? What's coming? What's going to disrupt everything? What's going to screw shit up, right? And when COVID hit, it was like, we were finally. I've lost everything twice. The last time we lost everything, I had about $4,700 in the bank, a little over $25.5 million in debt. I still had the company going, and we could barely fog a mirror, and you can imagine I wasn't in a great place. But when we kind of got through all that shit and things started going good again, COVID hits, and I'm thinking, God damn it, finally, right?
Right.
I was sitting there, I was talking to my wife. I told her, I said, most people's lives look like rolling hills, not too big high highs, not too big lows. I said, mine looks like an EKG. and she says, no. She says, yours is Tatsu the ride at Six Flags, right? And she was right, right?
You got thrown off twice.
Oh yeah, but you know what? Who cares, right? I mean, it builds character, if you will. But we were almost, I don't want to say we're almost out of business, but I was working my ass off, and I had a bunch of people in the company who were making decent money, and I wasn't taking a paycheck, and hadn't for like 7 years. I'm like, this kind of sucks, right? And so I had this, okay, if we can't beat them, join them, right? So we had this standalone desking tool with this great data and calculation engine and stuff. Excuse me. So started powering some CRM solutions, some DMSs, that kind of stuff. And then we were sitting on this fully baked API with all the data for every vehicle, every lender,
Wow.
lease, finance, balloon, cash purchase, didn't matter. We had all of it. And then COVID hits, and everybody freaks out. Car business stops. Everybody, and I'm like, oh, shit. And then everybody realizes, okay, there's still an appetite for cars. You can't go into the dealership. We got to learn how to quote payments online. I'm like, no shit. I've been asking you to do that for years, right? So, well, now we have to do it. So, oh, great, right? Here we have the pain point. And we went from like 600 rooftops to 3,000 rooftops in a 20-month period. And we went from 3,000 to 9,000 in a 10-month period. And then all of a sudden I started taking a paycheck again, and life was good, right? So, but yeah, it was just, timing was great. We got really lucky. I think there was a whole lot more companies that suffered dearly during COVID than there were the ones that really took off. But there was a lot of opportunities created by the disaster, right?
Oh.
And we got really lucky with positioning, and it just crazy.
That is amazing. So it's interesting you talk about losing the business or almost losing the business twice. So we talk about it some on here, but what got you through both of those times? Let's go back to the first one when you lost everything and you had to start scratching. What inside you said, don't quit? Because in today's society, there's a whole lot of quit and a whole lot of people.
Alcohol. I don't know. There's obviously some of the certain elements, right? Excuse me, but I grew up my whole life in motorsports, right? I raced motocross when I was a kid. I thought that was what I was going to do for a living. Had a couple stints in a wheelchair, and you lose all your sponsors and all that stuff, and that ends. But I hate to lose, and quitting that's the ultimate losing. And, I had a great team of people around me. That's, sizes change. We went from 147 people to 14 in one afternoon. And I didn't have a choice. When the economy fell apart, I was married to someone. And so
It's the Unfiltered Naked Truth for a reason.
Okay,
we'll make sure she gets a copy.
Oh, yes. This wonderful woman, she was embezzling $9,000 a day in cash out of the business, just tanked everything, and then filed for divorce. And so I was kind of stuck. So I went through a horrible divorce, horrible custody. I got 3 little kids at the time. My youngest is 21 now. But you just fight. And then weird shit happens. All of a sudden, boom, somebody drops into your life, right? So the gal I'm married to now, we've been together for a long time, and literally it was horrible, right? My dad dies in 2005. 06, 07 happens. My ex-wife files for divorce. 3 months after my ex-wife files for divorce, my best friend dies, right? Wow. And I'm like, God, how many times can I get kicked in the teeth, And then I got the celebration of life thing at my house for my best friend. I'm 41 years old. I'm going through a horrible divorce and losing everything, right? We were hemorrhaging like $3 million a month back then, right?
Oh, you and Twitter.
Yeah, I can't imagine what a happy moment Elon Musk had when all those people were telling him to go screw himself as they were driving out of the Twitter parking lot in their Teslas. Right? That's like, man, that's the ultimate fuck you. Way to go, Elon. I love you. But this, I go up, I introduce myself to this gal, beautiful Southern California, blonde hair, green eyed, 25-year-old gal, right? And she looks at me and goes, "Really? Really, dickhead?" And I'm like, "Who the fuck are you?" And she goes, "I'm Tristan West, right? Or Tristan West, right? Tristan Tonneson." I was like, "Oh my God, Aubrey's mom, right? Is my stepdaughter now, right?" Yeah, I knew Aubrey long before I ever met her mom because her dad and I were good buddies, right? And so they were going through a horrible thing. I was going through a horrible thing. We hit it off, and just misery loves company, and common enemy, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
We were able to kind of be there for each other, and look at pictures of my kids every morning to keep me from eating a bullet, and then you just pick up the pieces and know that there's something out there, that you can create that's better, and we did. It just took a long time.
I love it.
Thanks for opening those wounds.
Oh, you thought this was going to be easy.
I feel triggered. So
I don't think you have.
hold my
any
hand.
Yeah.
That is. I mean, for the people that are listening here, it's reality. A lot of people look at businesses and go, "Oh my God, look at the success you have," but they don't understand all this shit you went through. You just told us in 5 minutes, but it was years of challenges. It wasn't just, "Hey, woe is me." Oh, like you said, trigger, hold my hand, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's I call it shoelaces, right? I tell people I've been kicked in the teeth so many times I acquired a taste for shoelaces, and if you're going to survive in business as an entrepreneur, you better acquire a taste for them, right? Because it's not easy, right? And then there's multiple ways to do it, right? You get these guys who got these great ideas and they go, "Oh, let me pitch this idea," and then they sell their soul and give away all the equity to get this VC money in or whatever. Sometimes that works great, but most of the time the people who really ride off in the sunset, if you got a great idea, is the money behind it. It's not the visionary behind it, right? And we sold, had a great exit February of this year to S&P Global, right, which is Standard and Poor's, right, and I own 100% of the stock, right. So,
You did okay.
I haven't eaten top ramen since, so it's awesome. But it was a tough journey, and I always tell everybody, you hear this, "Oh, if it doesn't kill you, make you stronger," right? I should be able to whip Superman's ass. So, but yeah, it is what it is. We pulled.
But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. What you went through actually is a testimony for a lot of us that I've been through divorce, bankruptcy, name it, everything else, got kicked in the teeth and all that stuff, but we still got something to get up and dust yourself and keep going. I don't know what it is, but you can't really surrender. That's me. You can't do it, and shit happens, as you said. But what can you do? And especially as he mentioned, the entrepreneurship, Andy, is tough. You dealing with so many people, coaching them, all that stuff is really tough. But in all your, career, what you coach so many people. What is the common denominator that these people are saying?
I would say it's kind of what you just said. Some people ask for help, right? I'm sure along the way you met plenty of mentors that helped guide you, told you were a dumbass.
I brought professionals in.
Yeah,
right? I mean, I had to because I was so fucked up. It was nauseating, right?
Right. And so what? So to that point, though, like you said, you had to make the choice to bring people in. It wasn't because you didn't have the skills to know what to do. It was you needed perspective, or what you said, "Oh my gosh, I need somebody to come in here." What was that catalyst for listeners out here?
Oh God, there was 14 different shoes in the teeth at the same time, right? So my background, I was a technologist. I was really good at it. My biggest talent wasn't necessarily coding. I'm a good coder, but was surrounding myself with brilliant people, right? Wow. And I did. I got super lucky. I got the right people, and I led the team, right? The 100-hour weeks. I never asked anybody to work harder than I was working, right? But I ran the tech stack side. My dad ran the business side, and before September 11th, it was Wolf of Wall Street crazy. I mean, I was in my mid-30s. I was making $1 million a week, right? And I didn't grow up with money, right? I mean, we didn't grow up broke, but we didn't grow up with money. And So then you start doing all kinds of stupid shit. You go racing cars, you go flying around planes and all this stupid stuff. And when it goes away, and really goes away, you know, you're like, you know, you hear this, well, you're better to have loved and lost than to never loved. And
Well, that's total bullshit.
Well, yeah.
I don't believe that.
So, you know, so many people say, God, you'd been so much better off if you never had any of that stuff, you wouldn't miss it. And I'm like, yeah, well, okay. But when you get a taste for it, you go do it again, right? And now the second time took a lot longer than the first time, right? Because we just, you know, had a tiger by the tails. But now I don't have the exposure that I had before because I didn't have the business structured the way it was before. I mean, everything, you know, everything for my dad was a car deal. Everything was a car deal, right? So, you know, we had this software package, we're selling it to dealerships, and we're putting them on 39-month contracts for whatever, $1,000 a month, call it. And we were selling off the receivables to lending institutions, right? And we were getting like 33 or 39 payments, no recourse, cash up front. The cash flow was great, right? So now we're sitting on this giant war chest of cash. We got, you know, 3 years worth of service that we got to perform on these. We had 5,000-6,000 dealerships at the time, and but we had zero receivables, right?
Ooh.
And we had 3 little bitty banks. You may have heard of them: Wells Fargo, U.S. Bank, and American Express, right? And we were into them for a couple $100 million, you know, and we never had any. We never had any delinquencies because people didn't pay. We turned the computer off and I can't do my business. Well, send them a check, right?
Right.
And we had, you know, at 5,000-6,000 rooftops. We probably had 9 that defaulted over 3 years. I mean, it was nothing. But there was a company called Norvergence that had this. You remember Magic Jack, the kind of early voice over IP thing?
Oh yeah, Magic Jack.
So they came up with something that was kind of like Magic Jack, but for business. And it was a scheme, right? Or a scam. So they'd sell these things for $1,000 a month, and the infrastructure behind it cost a fortune, right? And they're selling them all off, and they sold like $420 million worth of them, and then they just scuttled the ship and rode off in the sunset. And they had 3 banks, oddly enough, Wells Fargo, U.S. Bank, and American Express, right? And all 3 of those banks withdrew from funding technology within a 90-day period of each other, and there's only source of income we had. Right? So I got a $3 million a month nut. I've got no way of generating revenue except for to try and build a monthly. And you imagine how long it takes to get where you got $3 million a month coming in.
Oh yeah, it's just
right?
tomorrow.
So
people think it up.
So we hemorrhaged. You know, I had, you know, in my mid 30s, I had $100 million in the bank, and when we hit rock bottom, I grabbed a backhoe and dug a deeper fucking hole, right? Because I wasn't ready to let go.
Right.
And but we burned through all of it, along with, you know, a bunch of other money, and you know, so you're like, okay, there's got to be a better way. And then you're gonna go, what am I doing that's not working? And so I brought in a guy. His name was John Webster, who's an industrial psychologist, and John and I became really pretty close after a little bit. But I wanted to kill him, right? Because he told me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear, right? What I wanted to hear was your past is great, live there, everything will be fine, right? What I needed to hear was your past is gone, your life's a fucking wreck, and you're a pussy in front of your team. How would they lead you when you got your dick in the dirt? Or how would they let you lead them when you got your dick in the dirt, right? Dress up and show up every fucking day. Dress up and show up. I don't care how much it hurts, right? And I'm okay, right? And you do, right? And then you get a little pickup in morale, right? And then something good happens, right? Maybe, you know, you just, you know, whatever. But surround yourself with talented people, and when you need help, get help.
Such an important thing, man. We always talk about that, like, you know, be open to feedback, ask for help. I always say 3 things. If the alcoholic people, 3 words they could say, they wouldn't be alcoholic. I need help.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And when you're open to feedback, take it and do it. I asked Andy so many times for the feedback, and he give it to me as a true friend and a coach. And
sometimes it hurts to hear.
It hurts to hear, you know, because I know I fuck up, you know, and I did. And
listen, it's painful just sitting next to him.
Yeah. But what are the other options? Keep going and making the same mistake and doing nothing, or just take the feedback and do something and get yourself out of the hole and surround yourself with the good people and be a good leader. Just the first one to admit that I messed up, guys. What can we do?
I mean, think about the economies of today, even over the last 7, 8 years, that conversation that I've had to have with people, I've had plenty of people, they don't want to hear it. Being an unreasonable friend, being like, look, we can, I joke, one of my lines, today is day zero. Yes, I stole it from Jocko Willink. Today is day zero. Nobody gives a fuck about your past. Nobody. Because every day has to be day zero. You have to start over.
You don't have a time machine.
Yeah. And I was a super salesman once. Nobody cares. I have people in my circle that they start talking about the past. I was just with a bunch of high school buddies. My best friend got married, first time at 54. I don't know if he was lucky or smart or unlucky at this, but
or not real smart.
Yeah. And it's so funny. It's going back to the high school days. Think about it. We revert back. But what I learned was there are some people in that room that are still living their life through that. In business, you can't do that. I mean, that mentor that you had that just told you to pull your dick up, dress up and show up, he was literally like, your motivation, your drive drove your team to want more than just like, what the hell do we do?
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing.
Yeah. I mean, the quarterback is bleeding and he gets out there and he goes anyway. Team's going to follow, right? Quarterback says, we're not going to win. And he goes and curls up into a ball, right? It's I relate everything to motorsports, and because nobody ever goes out and wins a real race unless they got massive amounts of support from the crew and all the rest of the stuff. You're a spacer between the steering wheel and the gas pedal. They just want you to be a fast spacer, right? But all the rest of shit's got to come into play. And
you didn't build the motor?
So I used to turn my own wrenches because I had the wrong race team for a while, and I will tell you when you're going into I was all road course stuff, Rolex stuff, and that kind of stuff, and you go into a hard braking zone, and when you hit the brake pedal and the foot goes all the way to the floor and the car doesn't slow down, people get fired real quick. But everybody on the team has to be up, right? You get you get a mechanic who's, oh gosh, we're probably not going to make the grid. This is too much work. It brings the whole team down, right? Mm-hmm. And you look at the teams that win championships, and you watch what they go through. I've got a buddy of mine who's the winningest GT racer in the world. His name's Billy Auberlin. He's been a BMW driver forever and ever and ever. And he's stupid fast. He's one of the two guys who taught me to drive race cars. And they'll be in practice or qualifying, and something bad will happen, and they'll really wad the car up, right? And they got to be on the grid tomorrow morning, and they got a car that looks like it got hit by a freight train. And what do?
Put it back.
Get some Red Bulls. Right? You're going to be up all night, right? And that whole team, and they're machines. I mean, these guys are incredible, right? But not just talented from a technician standpoint. They got drive, right? They losing to them is not an option, right? They got more championship trophies than they know what to do with. And they all suck it up, and they work 24, 30 hours without sleep. They'll be in some town, they call their drinking buddies who they know from that town, hey, we just need day labor. We just need help, right? And people rally around, they put the car back on the track, and then they get in the car and they go win, right? With something you look at, you're like, oh my God, this is a disaster. And businesses are the same way. They're just way harder to repair because there's no guidebook for repairing a business, right? You look and say, okay, we're going to have to put a front clip, a rear clip, a transmission, all this stuff. So great, right? Like, oh, yeah, you fucked this business up. How do we fix it? I don't know. I got to get in, right? I got to pick apart all the pieces and find out where the mess is, and then figure out one piece at a time how to fix it. And I wasn't that guy, right? I brought a CEO in who's one of my best friends now, and brought in psychologists and all the rest of the stuff. And
why did you bring a psychologist?
The industrial psychologist.
Oh, the industrial psychologist.
I don't believe in shrinks and stuff. Sorry if you're a shrink. Thanks for ripping off the insurance company. But it was this guy's basically a coach, just like you, right? He's just He's got
a PhD in
from Johns Hopkins or whatever. So he's a real dummy, right?
Yeah.
And he's an ex-special forces guy. I mean, he's got scars all over his face. He can't hear out of his left ear because a bomb went off, right? And I mean, you talk about direct. He's as direct as a sledgehammer. It's like, you even smell like pussy, right? So, suck it up, right? You know, I mean, just and you learn, right?
Yeah.
So, but sometimes that's what you need.
That's pretty impressive. I meet a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's always good to talk about, the businesses that do that. You walked off a cliff a couple of times, floated back up, saved yourself, fought, got in a couple of street fights, ate shoelaces, as you put it, but you still got up and you still came back. And that's the part hopefully you that are listening and you that are in business know you're not alone.
Yeah.
I mean, your story is unique to you, but there are hundreds of business owners out there that go through that today. Yeah. Economics, no cash flow, no cash.
We had cash flow, it just went the wrong way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's bleeding, but we see it all the time. And that's why when I met you, I was like, oh, Rami, we got to see if he can come and talk, because the next part about it is, exiting a business, right? You've been through a lot. So part of my intrigue with everybody as they exit businesses is the process that goes with it. Today, over 80% of the businesses that are listed for sale never sell. Never sell. And it's funny, I was talking to a business broker buddy of mine today. In fact, I was on his podcast. We were talking about that, about the why they don't sell and everything. So for you, I want you to talk to the listeners and us about the steps that you had to take, and how did you know it was the right time to sell? Were you looking to sell? I mean, just walk us through that journey that a lot of business owners never get.
So had 5 failed attempts in 35 years before we got one across the finish line. They were spread out all over the map, from I think the first one was in 96 or 97, right? One of them was very shortly after my dad died for almost nothing to, I'm not going to mention the company, but not a big fan. And they came in and stole our technology and, backed off. I think everybody goes into business, or not everybody, but a lot of people go into business with the intention of having a big exit, right? Or having some kind of an exit. And there's nothing wrong with that. Going into business with the idea of solving a problem and focusing on making yourself valuable is a whole lot more important than focusing on figuring out how do I exit, right? And I didn't know how to make us valuable, right? I knew how to solve problems, and we solved great problems. But we were one of the best kept secrets in the automotive space. And so several years ago, I hired some consultants, some industry guys that really understood the space, understood how to position a company for sale, and how to structure a company and all that. And I listened to them, right? And that was very tough, right? Because I had my hands in everything. And, Mark Geron's one of the guys. Mark, if you're listening, you're a prick, but I love you. And I mean, the first part, in all sincerity, you are a prick. We have this meeting, and he says, you need to hire an assistant. I'm not that guy. I don't need an assistant. And then I have to leave the meeting and spend 20 minutes trying to walk somebody to the office through getting a non-disclosure agreement sent out, right? And then they come back and he looked at me and goes, yeah, about that assistant position, right? He taught me that I had to work on the business as opposed to in the business. And that's very, very hard when you're hands-on, right? Because you got to let go. And so kind of got that sorted out. We went from a whole bunch of people down to 14 people. We started growing again. We found ourselves with about 70 employees. And we had 12 C-suite people, right? Because everybody who stayed with me got, I had a chief executive officer, a chief fill the toilet officer, all that shit, right? And so you're never going to be able to sell this if you don't structure the business properly, right? You build the people around the company, not the company around the people, right? So then we were like, okay, we looked at everybody. What are you really good at doing? What do you hate doing, right? And let's see where you fit in the vision, and that was a 3-year process of getting that stuff sorted out. And through that time, the world came to us. When we got positioned right, COVID hits, things took off, and we missed the sweet spot of the M&A space by a year, right? Because February 22 was a hell of a lot better time to sell a business than February 2023. But we had KPMG, it was the largest middle market banking company in the world. I didn't realize that. I always thought of them as an accounting firm. But they ran a process and absolutely slayed dragons for us. And, it was the right time, whatever, had a great team and got lucky.
I don't know about luck. I like ingenuity. I've never seen anybody get lucky to sell a business. So when you looked at going backwards and your consultants were telling you about the 12 executives in the C-suites, when you had to take yourself out of the business, and I mean wholeheartedly, like I understand people here will debate, well, you're always working on the business or in the business, but there is a difference. So when you went from, let's just talk about hours in the day. When you finally took his advice and hired an assistant, how many hours did you get back within 6 months?
Oh, God. 20 a week, right? It was
Wow.
stupid, right? I mean, because I was doing, it's kind of crazy. I didn't practice what I preached, right? I tell everybody in the organization, we bring somebody in, data entry person at whatever, I don't know what we pay them now, but, way back in the day, $10 an hour or whatever. And I always told everybody, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but the very best thing you can do as an employee at Market Scan is create a replacement for yourself, right? If you can bring somebody else up who does your job better than you can, then the next time there's an opportunity, it's available to you because it doesn't leave a hole, right? And keep doing that, right? So I was doing a lot of stuff, a whole lot of stuff that other people could do better than me. I just didn't let go of it, right? And then when you start letting go of it, and that was literally the biggest hockey stick change in my life and our whole business trajectory was when I finally realized that the smartest thing I could do was surround myself with super talented people and give them the autonomy to make themselves proud and fail, which you have to do to get good, and be there for them to pick them up. Once that happened, everything changed. And, I had people who were working much harder and loved working harder. Morale was great, and we just did shit in no time that other companies could never do because we just had the right team, and I let them run, right? And every single one of those people had failures along the way. It's just like getting faster and crashing a car, You don't go yell at the driver because he was pushing. You check and see if he's okay. You fix the fucking car. You go back out on the track, and that's what we did with our team. And I mean, it was zen, right? We laughed, we worked hard, we played hard, and we built something special.
Yeah, you absolutely did. I love that. So when you started removing yourself, what was the exponential growth that you saw? You keep talking about this hockey stick. So the people that don't understand that analogy, it's when you have growth and it goes straight up. So take a hockey stick, stand it in front of you and go, that's what I want.
Yeah.
That's the growth I want. But be careful what you wish for, right? Because that growth costs, it's an investment in time, energy, effort, and money. But the results can be monumental.
Yeah, it was year-over-year triple-digit growth, right? I mean, or I say triple-digit growth, 300%, 250%, just crazy. And, early part, it doesn't, you say, hey, yeah, we did 5 times as much sales this year than we did last year. If you do $100 last year, you do $500 this year, that's not that cool, right? But, and I know I've seen me do it, right? So
I wear that merit badge.
Yeah. But when we really started clipping along, right, we did it differently this time, right? We didn't do it where we were selling off contracts. We were generating an annuity, right? And then all of a sudden now, we're going from generating, 50, 60, 70 grand a month to 100 grand a month to 300, 500, a couple $1 million a month, right? And our cost didn't increase that much, So our profit was through the roof. They look at, you got to sell a company, you got your profit margin plus your growth, right? You want to be, was it a rule of 40, I think is where there's a sweet spot or whatever, right? We were like a 78. And, of course, these investment bankers and, all these companies that were coming in to look at us like, well, that can't be right. And I'm like, well, what do you think our cost of goods are, right? Cloud services. We built all the shit, right? And if I service 100 customers or 10,000 customers, my incremental expenses are minuscule, right? And when we went from 2,000 or 3,000 customers to, we're over 10,000 rooftops now. We calculate now 200-300 million payments every single day, right? It's crazy. But the cost to do that is not a whole lot more than it was when we had 1,500 rooftops. But the profit's a little different.
Yeah, absolutely.
So all these guys are looking at this stuff, so this doesn't make sense. And like, well, yeah, I mean, we had KPMG, which is one of the most respected accounting firms in the world. They did a quality of earnings report and audit. We did audited financial statements for years and all that stuff. So when we did go to market,
you had all the data.
Yeah, you don't have to take my word for it. I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm just asking to earn the right to ask you to look at my papers, right? And it just.
That is amazing. When you look at that, and this is something for all other business owners out there, what value proposition changed in the business the more you got out of the business and you put good people in?
Outside of just the organic positives that came from it, it made the company sellable, right? Nobody wants to buy a company where if somebody gets hit by a bus, the company fails.
Right.
And so, I mean, that was a big piece. That wasn't the motivational force behind it, but that was just one of those ancillary benefits that you don't really realize until you step back. But the growth, when we really started letting people do their job, right? We get a guy who's a rock star, right? And okay, I feed him with a fire hose, right? You're really good at this, so you can do this a whole lot, right? Well, you get to the point where okay, there's only so much that somebody can do, right? Go build a team. Go duplicate you, right? Find people who you can work with, who you can lead, who are like-minded, who you're going to have, big debates with, and nothing great comes out of everybody happy, right? I mean, you gotta have arguments, you gotta push, you gotta be butt heads, because what happens is your idea and my idea, typically neither one of them are the ones that we come up with. When we're arguing about it, all of a sudden the third idea comes up and we're both like, fuck, that's awesome, right? So go build those teams. And we had all these people in our organization who were given the ability to just go surround themselves with more people. And then you start growing, and then you get to sit back and you're like, now it's not like, look what I did. It's like, holy shit, look what they did, right? And that's so much cooler because, you're like the proud papa, and towards the end, I was arguably the ugliest cheerleader you've ever seen, but I was a damn good cheerleader, right? And I just got to sit back and watch these guys do great stuff, and we all reap the benefits from it.
I am so happy that you mentioned that, Rusty, because I was listening to him and everything that he says or you says, it all goes back to people.
100%.
I come from the, hospitality and technology, and I always say that people can make you or break you. People that exit company, they buy the company because of the culture. Revenue, of course, is important. Look at the WeWork. WeWork, they just filed bankruptcy in America. Why they did it? The analysis came out was a poor structure of the people inside the company that brought the whole thing down. Why they're successful in Europe right now, but in the United States, they planned it wrong because they didn't put the aces in places.
Yeah.
And surround yourself with the smarter people. That will create more opportunities for the upcoming people, and that will be a ripple effect. But I love what you said, that the people, and he always goes back to the people. And actually, the reason that he exits successfully, it was the people.
Yeah.
Listen, hands down, right?
Because he couldn't do it by himself. He first of all, I have that syndrome, I have that problem that we talk about it today. Let it go. Like I am the connector. I do great sales, but I'm always worried what's going to happen inside. I want to do everything, or I want to be in there. But letting it go is not easy. But I'm trying, to let it go. That's a big thing, and just build that trust and the safety zone for staff that they said, okay, they're gonna fuck up. I did it many times. We all do, but just go back, get up, dust your stuff, and keep going. But I'm so happy that you mentioned the people, which is the most important asset of any organization.
100%, and it's fragile.
Oh, wow.
It's really fragile, and I don't want to talk about that because non-disclosure agreements. But it's you have to be everybody's dad, uncle, brother, whatever, right? And you have to deal with a lot of really difficult stuff that's not business related. If you're going to take, I'll give you a great example. And gosh, yesterday was the anniversary or her birthday, right? So I had a gal worked with me forever. Her name was Molly Drexelius. Molly, batshit crazy, right? I mean, just super fun, really good at her job. And so she was one of the 14, right, when the world fell apart, right? She had my back. And so, I don't know, it's probably 5 years ago now. She comes to my office. She says, "Can I talk to you?" I say, "Yeah, what's going on?" She says, "I have brain cancer."
Oh.
And I go, "Shit. Okay. What do we do?" Right? And she goes, "Well," she says, "I need to try to figure out, I got some PTO and I got whatever." I said, "That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking is, how do we get you fixed?" Right? I mean, is this terminal? Is it curable? What is it? She goes, "No." She says, "It's treatable." It's like, okay. She says, "Like a six or 8 month process." And I'm like, "Okay." I said, "Well, your role just changed." And she goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Your only job as a market scan employee now is to go fight cancer. That is your task, right? I'm going to take what I paid you the last 12 months. I'm going to divide that by 24, right? And that's how much you're going to get paid twice a month until we get through this shit, right? You're not using any sick days. You're not using any vacation. You're not using anything. We're going to go fight this thing, right?" And she fell apart, right? And I'm like, what am I supposed to do, right? So we got through it, right? A year and a half later, she was cancer-free. And she came to my office bawling, "Oh, my God, it's like, that's awesome, right?" And then a year later, it was back, and that time it got her, right? And I had the same deal with her, right? So I wrote her a paycheck every 2 weeks, basically, until the day she died. And
Wow.
her desk, and nobody's, if it wasn't, if we hadn't had COVID and everybody bolted, nobody wants to go back to an office, we might have had a little bit of a challenge. But her desk is exactly the same way it was when she died, right? Don't touch her jacket. It's on the back of her chair. Leave it the fuck alone. You're not using the desk because nobody's here anyway, right? The only thing is the name tag I took, and I stuck it above my desk, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've had tons and tons of stuff. I mean, that was a big one. But you have I had a gal that worked for me for a long time, and brakes in her car were screwed up, right? And she goes to the shop. She's a cute young gal, so the shop's going to rip her head off, right? And I got a race shop that's one exit from our office, and I got a full-time tech there, and a set of brake pads for this Ford Escape are $30, right? So I said, "Just give it to Travis." "What do you mean?" Just have my guy come pick it up, goes, swaps her brakes out, brings it back. "Oh, cool, right? What are you?" "Nothing." "He's $30. Buy him a, Travis is low maintenance. You get him a Wendy's burger, and you think you gave him a bottle of champagne, right?" And but it's the things that show that you care, because you have to genuinely care, that leads the team. It's not the, it's not the this.
Right.
It's this.
What the question? Why did you do that? A lot of leaders out there, these days especially, they're not doing it. Why did you do it?
Because it was the right thing to do, right? People don't do that stuff.
No.
Right?
Not anymore.
And people wonder why, when the shit hits the fan, their employees go,
Yep.
right? Hey, shit hits the fan for me when everything fell apart. Even people that I had to let go asked me if I was okay,
Wow.
right? And I lied to him and said, "Yeah," but you don't get respect you earn respect. Right?
Absolutely.
And you earn respect not by having a title or, a big booming voice. You earn a respect by acting like you deserve it. And you act like that by being there for your team, right? Congratulating them when they do a great job in front of everybody, and then pull them aside when they fuck up in private and prevent the fuck up from happening in the future, and all the little things. It's fun.
I love it. I love it. You hit it right on the head. All right, as we finish up today, we're coming to the close. What's your role today with Smart Scan?
So I am co-founder and vice president.
Okay.
Right.
Pretty face.
Huh?
Pretty face.
Can you imagine all of this and brains? I mean, shit. Right? If only I had tits. So, sorry. Do we have to bleep that out?
No, not
I
even
think
close.
so. I know I came to the right place. Anyway, it's supposed to kind of be advisory, right? But I'm still really engaged. There's a couple software packages that I wrote that we use internally, right? And so they needed some modifications. So I literally from 8 a.m. yesterday to 1 a.m. this morning, I never left my desk. My wife brought me a sandwich. I don't get to do that much anymore, right? But
Found your groove again.
well, I got I love doing it, and I wasn't going to ask the other team to sift through my code because it's painful for them. But a lot of it is transitioning, right? When we sold the business, I had 3 priorities. Number one was it had to be in the best interest of my employees. Number 2, it had to be in the best interest of our customers, and number 3, the check had to be the right size, right? And I've stuck pretty true to that, and we've had a few challenges through the integration or whatever, but we're getting through it. And as that starts to kind of settle, then I think my engagement will be able to wind down some, but we still got work to do. So I'm still having fun.
But your exit happened before the rise of the artificial intelligence, AI?
Yeah. Well, February this year, right? So AI is like really hitting the scene hard now. And there's some crazy products that are out there. Have you seen this Read AI?
Yep.
So it's a plugin for Zoom. It listens to your Zoom meetings, and it literally writes a story about the Zoom meeting like someone with a PhD in English and journalism did it.
There's a lot of data.
What's that called?
Read, R-E-A-D.
Yeah. It's a plugin, and
All right, I'll find it tomorrow. I have 3 workshops tomorrow. I'll be.
it's basically your executive. It's your
and
executive.
it doesn't have to be Zoom. It could be this, right?
Yeah.
It's just
Right.
voice recognition. It just does the thing. Might have a hard time getting his.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's a heavy accent,
That's
people
South
talk
Texas.
funny.
But
That's South Texas.
If figure it out to transcribe my accent, man, that AI is goddamn good.
It is really
I'm
good.
serious. You're gonna exit with 200 million.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It won't. I didn't say duck you.
All right, for Rami and I, as we finish up, parting advice for us as entrepreneurs and business owners and everybody else out there. What would be your greatest piece of advice you'd give all of us?
There's exactly one person on this planet you need to make proud, and that's yourself.
Wow.
And if you do that and you're honest with who you see in the mirror and you tell yourself the truth, I'm proud of who I was yesterday, everything else will work itself out. People will follow you. People will be proud of you. Don't chase ghosts. Don't try to make other people proud. Honestly, make yourself proud and everything works itself out.
Excellent.
Thank
Thank you very much for your time today. This has been so entertaining and educational.
That's
Very
fun.
great. Thank you so much.
The tea was
Rusty, we
good.
learned so much.
I prefer an old fashioned.
Oh, okay. Next time. But, we learn a lot. And I hope our listeners and viewers learn a lot too, because it's 30 plus years experience. My God, that's a lot.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. When you're unemployable, you have to be self-employed. So
That's our problem.
Yeah.
We're unemployable.
oh God,
Yeah.
gloriously unemployable.
Yeah,
So,
gloriously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
Excellent. Tell your friends.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All 3 of them.
Yeah.
But as
I'm
always,
not really sure what to do with my hands.
but Andy, as always, we always say that if you like the podcast, what would you do?
Write us, call us, send us an email. All of the trolls out there, make sure you comment. We have people here that sift through those and are entertained, but reach out to us at, the Black Ops Agency or Action Coach here of Central Texas. We are here to help you and guide you through your next endeavor.
If you have any question for Rusty, let us know. We pass it along.
Yeah.
And if you have anything really to complain about, my ex-wife's telephone number is
Excellent.
That's good. Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.